everyone, welcome back to another episode. You can see we're in a different place. I really do love it. Can you see how lovely the view is? It's like so gorgeous. Yeah. So today I'm going to be talking about stress, inflammation, and isometric holds. So the gist of this whole video is how having like a breath practice is important, how taking note of how you breathe, your breathing patterns, and learning how to have a breathing practice is extremely important. That's the whole summary of everything, but I'll be running through the reasons why. So stress and inflammation, these are literally like the basis of everything. Like in medical school, when they are talking about like causes or etiology of diseases, 90% of them had stress and inflammation involved, right? Of course there was socio-economic factors, but most of them was about stress. So by stress, what do we mean by stress? Like we say it all the time, this thing is stressing me, I don't want to be stressed and all that, but what does stress mean? So stress in this context that I'm talking about means persons, places, things, situations, people, anything that takes you away from your peace, like from your center, from where you feel like you know how sometimes when you wake up in the morning you feel super calm, you feel chill, like things that take you away from that state, I would say should be under the umbrella of stress. So there is good stress, which is literally you stress. It's the type of stress that you go to the gym and stress yourself, type of stress where you give yourself like natural healthy challenges so that you can get better. But this type of stress is a harmful type of stress. So this is a chronic stress, a stress over time that it's not productive, it's not helpful, it rather puts you in like a different state, which I would explain further down this video. So a good way to like track your major stressors, like if you feel like you're always stressed but you're not sure the reason why you're stressed, a very good way to find out is a 20-minute meditative session. So this means like you set a timer for 20 minutes and then you sit still and close your eyes and just observe your breath for 20 minutes. So after about a period of time, you would notice thoughts coming into your head, right? And those thoughts could be good or bad, but those thoughts, I just want you to observe the theme of the thoughts. So the theme could be about your work, the theme could be about your family, the theme could be about your career, the theme could be about your relationships, your friendships. So just observe the theme of the thoughts. So it could be like 10 thoughts, but it's under the same heading. So you can in that way start to notice what are the stressors in your life. So we genuinely cannot live a life without stress. Like we cannot. It's yin and yang, light and dark, like joy and sadness. And there's also the saying that you can't really appreciate certain levels of joy if you haven't experienced certain levels of like pain or like downness, which I truly support. So your body already naturally finds a way to seek peace. Whether you know it or not, your body is already finding a way to seek peace. Because see, your body is a whole system, right? And it's built to take care of you. Like we should actually appreciate our bodies more. Our bodies are built to take care of us. Whether we take care of it or not, it's going to take care of us till its dying breath, literally. So it really, really does love us. So whether we're aware of these stressors or not, our body is aware of it. You've heard of the body keeps score. Your body is aware of it, and your body is going to find ways to like balance it out. So these ways could include a very common one, let's say prayers, right? So prayers is a way of like finding stillness and a certain level of peace. So it could even be like specific prayers like the Lord's prayers or the rosary. Partying is another one, like group, being together in a group of people and having the same rhythm, that helps your body like naturally balance out itself. So we have a glass of wine after work, hanging out with friends after work, going on a drive, having a sport that kind of just helps us release that tension, quotation mark, a massage, the gym, talking to someone you love. These are just like some examples. Cooking, eating, let's see, taking a bath, painting. These are all ways that your body naturally, as I've listed some, maybe some of them resonate with you. These are ways your body naturally finds a way to like balance itself out. So whether you do these practices or not, your body is going to try to balance itself out. The purpose of my video is just to help you like with awareness, like just to be aware of all these things. So let's go to inflammation. Inflammation is kind of like your body is being at war, right? So imagine they're like two states, like they're super close to each other, and then the states live in peace and harmony and all that, and then one state starts to threaten the other state. Like it hasn't started the war, but there's like rumors of it. What's the threatened state going to do? It's going to start preparing for war. They're going to send out soldiers to like certain points. Everybody's going to be tense. Maybe social activities will be dwindled down. They might have some curfews, all those things. That is inflammation. Inflammation is a state where your body is like, we are under attack. There's something going on. So stress is a contributor to inflammation. Me and my notes. Yeah. So which is super good. Like you actually do want to have a very high immunity level. Like you want to have a very strong immune system that is responsive to stress, that is ready to go to war. You want to have that. But chronic inflammation, that is inflammation that occurs over a long period of time with no solution, it can be super harmful to us, especially in healthy organs. Like there's nothing wrong with this organ, but there's just inflammation going on. So an example of inflammation, you know, is an injury, right? When you have an injury, there's a kind of like heat that comes with it. Like imagine you cut yourself, after the bleeding there's still heat and some sort of pain undergoing. That is inflammation. Like it's the tiny things in your body alerting your body that there's something going on here that we have to fix. So in this context, I'm talking about inflammation that occurs internally. So you might not really observe it, but you would notice that, like, let's say you're breaking out, you are having like chest pains, ulcers, you're having like sores and all that. So those are signs of inflammation going on. So what breath practice does is that it teaches you how to switch your body from sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous system. What does this mean? Your sympathetic nervous system, okay, let's start with your parasympathetic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system is the one associated with like you being chill, like being calm. So it's associated with sleeping, or you want to sleep, you know, you want to calm down. So it's associated with sleeping, with eating, with sex, with I said digestion. What else again? General creativity. Oh my god, creativity, because that's super important. Parasympathetic nervous system is associated with creativity, with the flow states. Your sympathetic nervous system is associated with when you are ready to attack. So there are two responses that are common, but there are two other ones that I'm going to focus on. So we know the fight and the flight. So imagine you are confronted with a situation, right? You could either face it, fight it, or like flight, run away, right? Those are the two common responses that we know. But there are two other ones. There's the fawn and there's the freeze. So fawn response means let's assume, so this fight or flight, we're assuming we're in the wild and then we're fighting and whatnot, but human life is more like complex than that. We don't really, sometimes we do face wild animals, but most times we're actually facing complex situations like work situations or emotional situations, and then this causes a huge chunk of stress on us. And then because we're not fighting or like running away, doesn't mean we're not responding to the stress. So there is the fun response. The fun response is when you try to please the person or the situation. So you can see yourself, that's when you shift to like people pleasing. You shift to like taking on more tasks than you're supposed to do just to make this person happy, which seems like, yeah, it's nothing, like nobody is facing the consequences. But over time you begin to notice that you no longer have opinions of your own. Your boundaries are like non-existent, and then even at a point you can start to compromise on your own morals, on your own self-values, just to keep someone happy, just to keep the work situation calm. Then you start to feel guilt, or then you start to have panic attacks. So these things, like, they are small, but they compound over time, right? Because you don't feel immediately stressed does not mean your body is not undergoing stress. So another response I would like to talk about is the freeze response, right? So I see fawn and freeze more often, honestly, with everybody. So this is where you like just pretend it's not happening. Like, pretend it's not happening. You've seen those responses in some animals. I think like there's a goat that when it faces a confront, it literally freezes and faints. It's called like a fainting goat or something. That's a freeze response. So in humans, this can look like you just pretending the situation is not happening, which can over time lead to like mental lag or even physical lag. It becomes slower than normal. You begin to lose gaps of hours. You have memory losses. You can't remember what happened. You like experience yourself being chronically exhausted. You're just always tired. Like, you don't get it because you're always sleeping, but you're still always tired. Learned helplessness, so you feel like nothing can change. You can't get you literally stop checking for jobs. You just feel like there's nothing that can be done about the situation, or you just give in and like stop trying to change the relationship or trying to do anything. You just accept that this is your life now. So those things over time can actually affect your brain, like your memory, your thinking capacity, your cognitive level and function. So these are not things you can like just shove under the table and say, oh yeah, because I can't see the effects right now, it's not real. So over time, chronic inflammation can lead to is involved in the disease process of many conditions. I'm going to list them out, the ones that I could get. There could be more, but these are the ones I could get. So chronic inflammation is involved in autoimmune diseases like arthritis, psoriasis, lupus. Is involved in cardiovascular diseases such as heart disease and high blood pressure. It's associated in certain cancers. It's associated in gastrointestinal disease like Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel disease. It's associated with lung diseases like asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, mental health conditions like depression and anxiety, metabolic diseases like type 2 diabetes, PCOS, which is now PMOS. Finally, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's diseases, Parkinson's disease. Together, inflammatory diseases are responsible for over half of deaths globally. Do you understand what that means? Like, over half of all the deaths that occur, inflammatory diseases are involved. So this is like super important. So what happens during taking a breath, the process of taking a breath that actually like touches the inflammatory system? When you practice like breath work, you're shifting your body from sympathetic response to parasympathetic response. So you're telling your body, we're not under attack, we can chill. If you notice, this really helps with focus. If you notice with let's say like high star athletes or people who do work that requires a lot of concentration, surgeons, just a lot of concentration, even artists before their performances, they have a moment where they take a deep breath, relax before they go in. So this lets their body know that we're chill, we can relax. This gives you a higher quality of work. This increases your creativity level. And also so there's this thing that occurs during isometric holds. So isometric holds are poses or exercises where your body is under tension for a long period of time. So we're thinking about like planks. So we're thinking about wall sits. We're thinking about even wall push-ups and all that. So just putting pressure on your muscles for a long period of time. In Pilates, this is done so much. They're like 40% of Pilates poses are actually isometric holds. And also in Pilates, the breath is super important. So what happens here is that your muscle is an endocrine organ. An endocrine organ means it releases hormones. Hormones are like town criers in your body system. It's like saying, this is what we should do, this is what we should do. So we all know that cortisol is associated with stress. So cortisol is a type of hormone that goes around your body saying, we're under stress, right? So your muscle is also an endocrine hormone. When you are on isometric holds, it releases acetylcholine, and acetylcholine goes to bind on your immune cells, the same points that like your pro-inflammatory markers were supposed to bind. What are pro-inflammatory markers? Pro-inflammatory. So it's saying we should carry on with the inflammatory process. Yes, carry on, it's good. But when you do these isometric holds, acetylcholine goes to bind at those spots. So where it would have like gone to make those announcements, it's no longer available, so hence reducing stress. So you can ask your yoga teacher, Pilates teacher, fitness instructor, and maybe in the future, hopefully, your medical doctor to teach you a breathwork practice. So common ones that we know are box breathing, so where you breathe for I think 10 seconds, then you hold for 7, then you exhale for 10, those box breathing things. Then there is the alternate nostril breathing, where you inhale with one, hold, and exhale with the other. So I really like that because it does like this sensation in my brain, which is like super good. There are other methods of breathing, but just knowing how to have a breathwork practice, so that when you're super stressed, when you want to go to bed, when you want to sleep, when you want to do work with a high quality of expertise, you would know how to carry out these processes. So thank you very much for joining, and I'll be having a fitness soiree at the lake. The details will be shared soon, June 20th. So if you want to join, thank you so much, and bye.